It wasn't pretty, but the Steelers got the job done, beating the New Orleans Saints 20-10 at Acrisure Stadium on Sunday, improving to 3-6. We're going to talk about a lot of different things that happened in this game. What I think did work, didn't work. Can the defense sustain the kind of defense that we saw in this game, or the Saints just that bad? Talk about the offense, Najee Harris getting the game that we've been looking for out of him, Kenny Pickett's progress, all of that right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and YouTube. If you're watching this video on YouTube, hit the like button of the video if you enjoy it. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making the Locked On Steelers podcast your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Just pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON, Locked On at prizepicks.com. All right, Steelers fans, it's Victory Monday up on here. You haven't had chance to say that too many times this year. They're 3-6 now, but the Steelers did find a way to get a win. I said that they would get this win. They did it a little bit better than I thought they would, but it was still a sloppy game. All right, but let's break a few things down here. First of all, the defense showed up in a big way. When Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I didn't get it, this caught everybody by surprise. When Minkah Fitzpatrick was announced out because he had an appendicitis and he had to get his appendix removed, whatever, I was like, oh goodness, why is this happening to this team? Because they just got TJ Watt back. We were like, finally, this defense can be back to fully loaded. We're going to see this 3-safety package with Damontae Kazee, who's back, with Terrell Edmonds, with Minkah Fitzpatrick, with TJ Watt bringing the heat. This defense is going to be on fire. And then Minkah goes down, and everyone's just like, why, man? Why? What do you got to do? This is just rough. So it was a rough situation, but I will say the Steelers handled it very well. Because I do think that's a big reason why Robert Spillane was on the field so much, on top of also Miles Jack dressed for the game but didn't play, which tells me they were trying to protect him in this game. But all in all, the defensive plan for the Steelers worked. They did exactly what I said they needed to do. Alvin Kamara, 8 carries, 26 yards. Eliminated. Not a factor in this game. Taysom Hill, 3 carries, 1 yard. Not a factor in this game. They took the run game away. They forced Andy Dalton to beat you with his arm by himself. He was 17 of 27 for 174 yards. Did throw a touchdown pass, but 2 fourth-quarter interceptions that were huge by this secondary. Levi Wallace, I thought, had a spectacular game. Had a pass breakup that led to Damontae Kazee's interception. Then had a huge interception and might have been the play of the game for the Steelers when he came down with it deep down the sideline. This secondary responded in a big way. They traded for William Jackson III. He couldn't play because now he has to recover from an injury. Ahkello Witherspoon's still out, and even though he was struggling, still it's good to have a veteran available than not have available. So it came down to Cam Sutton, Levi Wallace, Terrell Edmonds, and Damontae Kazee as your primary guys in the secondary, and they came up big. Kazee had an interception after a renegade play, by the way, and I thought that was a huge tone-setting moment for the Steelers. It allowed the Steelers to finally play some complementary football. We haven't seen enough of that. And what I mean by complementary, I mean the offense scored, they got a field goal, the defense gets an interception, the offense gets a touchdown, the defense gets a stop on 4th down. Now it stopped after that because the offense didn't get any points after that. But they were able to do the doggone job there and get it done. And the defense making consistent plays. How about this for highlighting the defense's day? 3 of 12, they held the Saints on 3rd down. They held them to 3 of 12. The Steelers offense themselves, 9-17, which not elite, but over 50% for the Steelers offense, 25% for the Saints offense. That's winning situational football. That's something they hadn't done a lot this year. They were able to kind of keep things locked in. The Steelers ran the ball for 217 yards versus the Saints 29 yards. And of course, the Steelers winning the turnover battle. All things you need to do to pull along a team with a rookie quarterback that's struggling. But I want you guys to hear Damontae Kazee, because as sudden as it was to us that he was going to have to play instead of in Minkah Fitzpatrick's place instead of being an extra safety on the field, it was to him. He revealed to us in the locker room that the Steelers left practice Saturday thinking everything was okay, and then all of a sudden he gets a phone call from like a family member, and he's like, "Hey, so did you see about Minkah?" And he was like, "What?" And so this was pretty crazy. Here's Damontae Kazee in the locker room, and we got to ask him a bunch of questions about his day, how the secondary's been playing, but also how it all worked out with him starting in this game with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Here again is Damontae Kazee in the Steelers locker room after the game.
You guys, the Steelers made a concerted effort to get you and other veteran defensive backs on this team. Do you feel like that's helped you guys as far as just adjusting week to week?
Yeah, I think it helped us tremendously. Having everybody back now is just like, you see the energy now. You see everybody, playing with heart. Everybody's happy. Everybody's doing everything. So I'm enjoying it.
How good did this win feel, knowing I'm sure there's more you guys want to work on?
I don't have to wake up depressed tomorrow, so I can have a great week.
When did you just find out that you were stepping in? Where did you find out that
I found out around 5 o'clock. My cousin called me and told me, he was like, "What happened to Minkah?" I'm like, I just left. I just saw him not too long ago. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I thought it was fake at first, so TE called me and then told me the real. So,
how comfortable did you feel stepping into that starting role?
I believe I got like 40-something starts in the NFL, so it wasn't nothing. It's just next man up, like Coach T preached, and then got to do my job like he do his. Meek was being a great coach on the sideline, telling me everything, being there. So true brotherhood, knew what I was stepping into.
Did he give you any pregame message?
Yeah, he gave me some black socks, and I think that's why I got an interception.
Does it surprise you that, he's had dealing what he's dealing with and then he's out here today with you guys?
Yeah, because I didn't know. It was just surprising. Like, when I tell you, we just had a great week of practice and great walkthrough yesterday, and it's like, boom, Kazee, you're starting. I'm like, I was studying something else, but now I just got to go back to what I know, but I have practice with it, so I was all right.
It's your first game as a Steeler. They used the song Renegade to get the crowd pumped up, and then you're the guy that gets the interception. What was that like just in the moment when the stadium exploded and you made the play?
It felt like a dream sometimes. It's just like those moments right there, just something that you cherish every time. So I think I was just happy, man. First game back, first interception, got to do some tackling today. So first time with a broken arm, so I think I was all right.
So you can see Damontae Kazee, feeling good to be back out there. Also, he was feeling very good. Go to my Twitter account at Carter Critiques if you want to see how good he was feeling coming off the field. He said, "I'm back." Bleepy, bleepy, bleep. You can go see my Twitter guy. I took the whole video. I was just filming guys coming in off the field, and he was the most excited about him. It was actually pretty cool to see. But anyways, you could tell one thing that yes, the veteran contributors that they've added to this secondary this year, it means that there's not as much guesswork as far as who's going to be able to handle what positions. Guys are able to stand up and fulfill responsibilities. If they can't, you go and you put in another guy who can. That's kind of what you've seen with Ahkello Witherspoon. Even though he was hurt, Levi Wallace playing on the outside, that kind of play will keep you out there a little bit longer. But the Steelers, I think I wouldn't put it past the Steelers that if Levi Wallace starts to struggle on the outside, they see how's Ahkello feeling, how's is William Jackson III back yet, how is James Pierre looking there. I think that they're willing to rotate guys to find answers, but in this game you found the guys who were providing answers, and I think that was a very good sign from the Steelers to get that in this game. But again, situationally winning the fourth and one stand, because they got 2 official turnovers, but they really got the 3rd turnover with the turnover on downs in Saints territory when the Saints tried to rush to the line and sneak Andy Dalton, and they just submarined the guys and they just stopped them. You saw Robert Spillane get over the pile and throw Andy Dalton backwards. It was a huge chance for the Steelers offense. They ended up, messing up the opportunity. But all in all, this defense came to play. Now, can they sustain this? Well, one thing for sure, I think they can do this to teams like the Panthers, like the Saints, a lot of these NFC South teams that are going to be coming up. But they got an opponent next week like the Bengals. If Minkah Fitzpatrick can't go in, and we're thinking that he probably can't because it's with the appendicitis, then I think the Steelers might be in for a rough one there. But there's a lot of teams like this, the Raiders, the Colts, all those type of teams. I think this kind of defense you can win with. And when Minkah Fitzpatrick comes back, I think this defense can fly at a whole nother level that we haven't seen just yet with TJ Watt and Damontae Kazee and Minkah Fitzpatrick, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, who got 2 sacks in this game. He played very well. I think all of that can be a huge factor, especially also with Myles Jack back. We're going to talk about the offense. I'm not neglecting the offense. I just wanted to lead with the defense because they were the unit that won this game the most. We'll talk about the offense in just a minute here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, so don't go anywhere. But first, Today's episode is brought to you by Total Wine & More. This holiday, find what you love at Total Wine & More. They have so many great bottles to choose from, and it's easy to find a new favorite single barrel bourbon or the perfect gifts for everyone on your list with some help from a friendly guide. And all the confidence of knowing you found something special for the lowest price. Find what you love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly. Be 21 years old. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. Remember to check out the Locked On Sports Today show for all the national news going on around the Locked On Podcast Network. But let's dive into this offense, because this was a day where I felt like the offense got it done, but of course it wasn't clean enough. And I know there's people out there that are going to scream, Matt Canada, Matt Canada, Matt Canada. There were times I didn't agree with Matt Canada's calls in certain situations. But there were plenty of plays that, once again, Kenny Pickett was not seeing. Now, this, I feel like, was still an improvement for Kenny from where he's been. No interceptions, 18 of 30 for 199 yards. Nothing good, but at least he wasn't crushing you. And he did throw a couple passes where he gave his guys a chance to make plays. He threw a deep ball to Deontay Johnson for 36 yards. It was right there, jump ball, let him go get it. He did that. He gave George Pickens some chances to make plays. He did that for 3 catches for 32 yards. Pat Freiermuth had some chances, and you see him starting to feel it a little bit. That's important, but still not all the way you want to go with Kenny Pickett. But who did I say Matt Canada was talking about when he said he thinks that a breakout game is coming? He said Najee Harris. Najee Harris, not a superstar game, but 20 carries, 99 yards, basically 5 yards a carry. A really solid game from Najee Harris, especially early on, was able to push forward, was able to hit the holes. And I think you also got to credit not just Najee Harris, but the offensive line. Now, here's the thing, and this is why I keep telling y'all about Najee Harris. It's not just about his play on the field. It's how he carries himself off the field. It's how he puts the emphasis on himself. During this bye break and how the bye week went for the Steelers, it was clear the Steelers were like, hey, man, we're going to need you to be part of the stepping up business to make things happen. And even if, yes, you know what, you're getting hit with 3 dudes in the backfield, and even if that's going to happen, we need you to be the guy that finds a way to make plays happen for this team. He did that in this game. There were still plays where they were getting, the offensive line got blown up a little bit. He still made it work, but that was the running performance that you needed from Najee Harris. Also had a 36-yard run in this game. I think that's the longest he's had all season long. But we talked to Najee Harris afterwards, and he, again, listen to how he talks. He's putting the emphasis on himself. He's saying, this is about me, and this is what I have to do to get better. He's not trying to point at the offensive line outside of what they do well. He wants to take the emphasis on him, and I think that's a big reason why the Steelers like his demeanor. Here was Najee Harris in the Steelers locker room after the game.
Just how did it feel to really get the run game going today? I'm sure you guys probably want more. But
Yeah. Well, that was emphasized a lot during this bye week. Me and the coaches, we all got together and talked a lot about how we could fix it. What I could do really to help it out, and today it showed up.
Matt Canada said you were in for a breakout type of game. You feel like you delivered
today? Yeah, we need more of it, especially coming from me. Me being the type of guy on the team, I gotta provide more like that. We just gotta build off after this win.
Did you also feel like your offensive line took good steps forward today?
Yeah, man, the offensive line is always taking good steps. It's like I said, it's just me. I got to do better. Offensive line played their ass off, But they do that every week, especially in practice too. I think the way we did in practice this week, moving forward to this game, we changed a couple of things. We're finishing a lot more, but it all starts with them. So the line did the best probably so far this year.
How good did the difference for you? What was the biggest thing that you felt like you wanted to fix going into this game?
So me and the coaches, we talked, not something I want to say on film, but on camera, but we had a conversation about some stuff where they think that me helping out the O-line could help out a lot more, and I took that into consideration practicing throughout the week.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot that you guys are going to want to work on, but just how good did it feel to come out of the bye week to get this win and to kind of say, hey, we can turn the page here?
Yeah, man. So like I said, that bye week we talked about a lot of stuff that's had to do outside of football too, that can help us out on the field. I said that before on Friday, I think it was. But we're taking a different approach here. and how to do things around the building, around just rebuilding the culture in a way. We got to change a lot of things. We're still building, but we're going towards the right direction.
Najee, how important was it to get that big one?
I'll tell you what, talking about the culture and rebuilding things there, it's absolutely needed with the offense because, again, the offense, they don't have the identity. They don't have the leader that's going to carry them forward right now. Ben Roethlisberger is gone. David DeCastro, Marquise Pouncey, those guys are gone. That group is trying to figure out who they are, and I think that they're emphasizing, Najee, we need you to be part of that. And a lot of people, when they talk about Najee Harris, they say, oh, he dances too much, and oh, he doesn't charge forward. And there's times I do think Najee does dance too much, but I think that's an overstated thing. A lot of the problems have been the chemistry with the offensive line, not missing their blocks at the wrong time, which kind of puts Najee Harris in a rough spot, because then there's times he misses holes, and there's times that he thinks that, well, this guy's going to lose this matchup, I'm going to go this way, and then that hole was there. And to me, this has been something that the Steelers have needed, is this group to kind of come together. And what you heard there and what Najee Harris saying, like, in practice, not necessarily in the games, but in practice, I had to work more with this. We had to work more together with this offensive line. I bet you he's sitting in there in a lot more offensive line meetings and being like, hey, I'm not just in the running back room going over what we need to go through. I'm here with you guys. We got to get this done. And should this have been happening more often earlier? Probably. But also, he's a second-year player, and you're probably thinking, like, you know what? We need Najee Harris to focus on himself. But I think it's time. You know what? They drafted Najee Harris to be a leader. He's a guy who can be a face of a team. He's a guy he has the personality to carry the team on his back. They need him to step up in these moments and take the reins during practice weeks and during the film studies and say, hey, guys, I'm going to be here with you. So I'm very intrigued by the little bit that he shined in on that interview about the process of the offensive line, because I do think the offensive line played better today. There were still moments they gave up pressures they shouldn't give up. They gave up sacks they shouldn't have given up. But there were moments where I think you saw them have combination blocks that worked very well, work together in tandem to open up holes for Najee Harris. And you saw, even in a not great game from the offensive line, you give him some space, he gonna go get it. And it's, when people say, oh, he dances around, the only time that I see Najee Harris dance around is when the one or two mistakes he'll make when he does that during the game, when there's nobody there. But most of the time, it's when there's a bunch of guys in the backfield. And I think that when he saw, hey, you know what, I don't got to worry about this game, you saw him shoot through the holes. You saw him be able to get the big yards. And when that happened, you saw some of the success of the passing game. You saw Kenny Pickett take off for some good yards. Also, 217 yards on the ground. When was the last time you saw that from a Steelers offense? It's been a while since you've seen that. Jaylen Warren wasn't having a great day until the end in the fourth quarter. He caught two really good passes that he was able to turn up field on, and then he also was able to rip up a 21-yard run at the end of the game that really helped the Steelers ice it. But he was struggling early, but Najee Harris wasn't. And I think this is something that might be good for the Steelers. The Steelers might have a really good 1-2 punch at running back over the next few years if these two guys can stick around and be together and play well together and stay healthy. We've always talked a lot about going into the season about Najee Harris doesn't need to have so many carries or so many touches every year. Like last year, he had 381. It was a very high volume, and it's fine because you trust him to make those plays. But you also, don't want to wear him down because you want to have him for longer. And maybe Jaylen Warren got 9 carries to Najee Harris's 20. Maybe that's a good pace to run this by, is that you're still running the ball, you're still pushing forward, you're still controlling the clock. And by the way, they controlled the clock. They won by 38 minutes and 58 seconds to 21 minutes and 4 seconds. That's over 17 minutes of winning the time of possession battle. That's very impressive. That's more than a quarter that allowed the defense to be out there. We don't have the full defensive snaps counts or anything like that just yet, because I'm recording this Sunday evening before I headed over to Channel 11. By the way, if you see this beforehand, check out Channel 11, 11:35. I will be on the Channel 11's WPXI's The Final Word show on Sunday night. So check that out if you are a Pittsburgh person, or you can go there to WPXI.com to watch that, where I give my thoughts about this game and others. But bottom line, I think the offense did take steps forward today. I think George Pickens, he's George Pickens. He's him. Just throw the ball to the man. He's going to find a way to make it happen. Had some good runs too. Was able to rip off a 22-yarder on a jet sweep. Also got the 1-yard touchdown at the goal line. That kid's going to be special. This offense, there are elements to it that I think are improving. You still need Kenny Pickett to see the field better, because there were some touchdowns he just didn't even look at, and there was times he had time in the pocket. It wasn't the offensive line. It wasn't the wrong route. He needed to throw the ball, and there were times that he didn't. But He didn't make the mistake that killed them. He made some good plays, and there were some plays where he kept the drive alive. And ultimately, they did have 2 touchdown drives in this game. So you take what little progress you have and see how you move forward with it. They're going to need better, but we'll talk more about what they need to do better and other things that I saw from this game, especially Alex Highsmith, other guys that stepped up, and what might be the path for the Steelers to have this second half surge. We'll talk about that in just a minute here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. But first, we got to talk to you guys about Prize Picks. Now, y'all know about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the brand new fun way to play daily fantasy sports. If you're big into fantasy sports, this is real easy, because all you have to do is pick 2 to 5 players that you think you have a beat on and how they're going to play in fantasy that day. Then what you go find those players, and then Prize Picks has a certain stat, and all you have to guess is more or less than the stat prediction that Prize Picks offers. For example, if Prize Picks said, "Oh, we think Najee Harris is going to get 70 yards," and you said more, you would have won money off of him today. And with Prize Picks, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. You're not competing against others. You're just guessing right on more or less picks on prizepicks.com. And Prize Picks includes the NFL, NBA, NHL, and college sports and combat sports and so much more. So go to Prize Picks right now. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com, and you can sign up today to play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's LOCKEDON, Locked On. Promo code Locked On at the Prize Picks app or on prizepicks.com. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. Now, let's wrap this show with thoughts on, are the Steelers able to sustain some success? Because there's been a few times this year, this is their 3rd win. The last 2 wins, questions, could this be leading to something? Could this be building something? And then it didn't. And, the first game of the season, granted, no TJ Watt. Then the win against the Buccaneers, granted, they had a rough situation coming after that. But there's been times where they've been on the cusp. I really do believe this team is a couple bad luck moments from either being at 500 or just being over 500, or even better than that. If this team doesn't lose TJ Watt, I still say they beat the Dolphins. I still say they beat the Jets. I still say they beat not the Bills or the Eagles, but the Browns and the Patriots. I think they at least take 3 of those 4 games, and you're talking about a 6-win team or a 5-win team instead of a 3-win team right now. And then you're talking about a completely different outlook on the season. But they are who they are. They've made their bed. They're going to lie in it, as Mike Tomlin will always say with his Tomlinisms. But I do think that there are certain things that you're able to take forward that this team can put together. For one, Alex Highsmith, 2 sacks in this game, should have had 2.5. I think he got robbed by the statisticians. I look back at it, and I was actually talking to Alex about it after the game. He was like, "Did you see that, man? They robbed me just like they robbed TJ last year." But he was getting to the quarterback. He was using his spin move, getting sharper, making plays, studying the weaknesses of his offensive tackle. We'll get more from him because I talked to him after the game, but I want to save him for later in the week with some of the things that we talked about. But I thought him getting there, feeding off TJ Watt, and you saw how TJ Watt wasn't the biggest player. He wasn't the biggest playmaker in this game. He only had 4 tackles, and he was felt. I mean, that's not to say the president wasn't felt, but he wasn't, this wasn't a TJ Watt take him over game. This wasn't the 3-sack, with an interception type of game where we've seen him single-handedly ruin opponents. But you saw his presence being on the field and what it does for the rest of the team. It allows the run defense to kind of settle a little bit. It allows the pass rush to get more one-on-ones for key guys. You saw the Saints throwing extra tight ends, extra running backs with their offensive tackles, trying to slow him down. And that allowed guys like Alex Highsmith to be able to get in the backfield. That allowed Cam Hayward to get a little bit better. I think that was a really good sign from this Steelers defense that they got that from those guys. And again, this is a defense without Minkah Fitzpatrick on the back end. There were a couple plays. Damontae Kazee, I thought, played a good game. There was one play where he had the unnecessary roughness call where he hit the guy in the head. That was one of those I think that was a bang play where he needed to lower his trajectory as far as where he was going. He did make contact to the head or neck area. That's just by the book. That's what you have to call there as a ref. But I also think there's a big difference between it being that is a penalty versus that is inherently dirty. He even said at the game, I wasn't trying to hurt anybody. I was just trying to make sure he didn't catch the pass. But again, that's where sometimes you got to throw the flag, and it's not dirty. It's just, hey, that's a penalty. That's a mistake. That's going to cost you. And that was the one drive the Steelers gave up in the entire game. But I think there's some real signs of encouragement of these guys across the board. Alex Highsmith getting after it. Cam Hayward was still rocking. Larry Ogunjobi was out there healthy. You saw Damontae Kazee and what he was able to do in the Minkah Fitzpatrick role of free safety and kind of being the deep guy. Now I let the guy. You saw how hard he hit on that one play where he did draw the penalty. I'm telling you, Damontae Kazee is here to be an extra real piece. If Minkah Fitzpatrick can get back healthy in a couple weeks here, it's going to allow for this three safety set to do what I've been talking about as far as letting Minkah play deep or Damontae K play deep, and then you can rotate with those two guys all over the field while lining up Terrell Evans in different spots. You'll have guys being physical, you have guys being fast. I think it eliminates how many times Robert Spillane has to be on the field. Again, Spillane was on the field this game more. He was getting attacked by Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton kept going after him in key situations, and that was a big part of what kept the Saints couple of drives that they had alive. But that the Steelers were kind of stuck in that situation because Miles Jack again was injured, dressed, but didn't play. And then you had Minkah Fitzpatrick go out, so you couldn't throw the extra safety on the field like they were planning to with all their three of their top guys at that position. But still, I think this is very buildable, what you got on the defense. You had Levi Wallace playing well. You're hoping that William Jackson can make it back. I thought Cam Sutton played well. I think they put together a complete game on the defense outside of one bad drive at the end of the first half. Offensively, you see growth from Kenny Pickett. Baby steps growth, like a little bit of growth, not a whole lot. Little bit, because anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that I am very honest about when Kenny Pickett. I think the first half he was very much in his head, he's thinking too much. He's not playing. He's not ripping. He's not running. And I think that's where his biggest mistakes come. But I say all that to say, in the second half, I thought that he made some smart decisions and made the right gambles at times that kind of helped the situation, helped the Steelers move forward and help the offense go. And then I think that part of this future, the future of this offense, the hope for this offense is that Kenny Pickett gets confident enough to take more shot plays, confident enough to say, hey, George Pickens, go get this. Hey, Deontay, go get this. Hey, Pat, here's a jump ball. Go win this. Hey, Najee, here's a pass to the flat. Go get that. Or hey, Jaylen Warren, because he did that twice in this game with two really good catch and runs that set up the Steelers in the fourth quarter there. If he can start to feel that, defenses can't sit on Najee Harris. And early in the game, I think that was the thing, was that Dennis Allen, the Saints head coach, said before the game, and Ross Jackson talked about it on our crossover Thursday, he said he's not going to treat Kenny Pickett like a rookie quarterback. He's going to treat him like an NFL vet. And I think that might have been a coaching mistake on the part of the Saints, because early on, they were respecting Kenny Pickett so much that they weren't loading the box and trying to take away the run. They were trying to have a balanced defense. And that allowed the Steelers to say, hey, they're not charging up after us. This is the offensive line's chance to set the tone, and they did with Najee Harris, and that got some things going. Then later in the game, you saw the Saints say, all right, forget that plan. Treat him like a rookie quarterback, take away the run, and force him to beat us in single coverage all over the place. And I think that's when you saw the run game slow down for the Steelers a little bit, and you saw Kenny Pickett have to try to make some plays under pressure. That's where Kenny Pickett has to grow. When teams do that, he has to make them pay. He made them pay a couple times in this game. Needed to make them pay more. But I think that if he can take this and learn from this and grow from this, it'll put the Steelers in positions with chances to win games moving forward, like this one. And again, they won this game 20-10. It really should have been 26-10. Chris Boswell being out, I don't get why I don't understand why they got rid of Skiba, because I thought he did a good job against the Eagles. They went and got Matthew Wright. I believe he missed 2 field goals in this game. If he hits those two field goals, this is 26-10, and this looks a lot better for the offense, for the numbers that they would have been able to put up. And 26 points, I think, would have been the tied for the most in the Matt Canada era, I believe. Maybe most. I think they might have had a 27-point game. But you get my point. It would have been this would have been a good sign for the offense. But still, I think there are good signs there. I don't think that Steelers fans should overlook the signs of progress that they're seeing. Now, the question is, can they build on this moving forward? Can they stack the wins? Because that was something that I talked to with Arthur Marlette after the game, and he said it's all about stacking. We'll talk about stacking and more about what the Steelers do. We'll also try to get you some more insight into when will Minkah Fitzpatrick be back. We're going to try and see if we can get Dr. Karina Maharaja back on the show, see if she can give us some updates and just as far as what her outlook is on that situation and what to expect with Minkah. And then also my grades. All of that will be coming up in our Tuesday episode right here in the Locked On Steelers podcast. Thanks again for checking us out here in the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, where I cover Pitt Athletics. Also, check out this show, Locked On Steelers, on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and YouTube. If you watch this video on YouTube, hit the like button in the video if you enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. Thanks again for checking us out on this day. We hope you have a great day. We're going to upload this a little bit early so you guys can catch it on Sunday night. The next episode we're going to try to get out Monday night, might be Tuesday, but either way, Steelers fans, enjoy a victory Monday. You haven't had too many of them this year, but maybe, just maybe, more of them are coming around the corner. We'll talk more with you on Tuesday right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.